All, how you doing? Hey, I know you're dying to know. I'm here to tell you the Taylor Swift concert was amazing. We had so much fun. Me and 72,000 of her other fans. It was great. My twins are like 7, almost 8, and they kind of melted down around 10:30ish at night when she was playing some of her more quiet songs, but they rallied and we made it through, and it was an awesome event in so many ways possible. We also went and saw the Barbie movie, which, if you haven't seen it, go see it. It is so good. It exceeded my expectations. It was funny. I laughed out loud, and I loved the message. It was a beautiful, amazing, really important message. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. All right, I want to talk to you about the main tool I use with my clients to help you get unstuck, to help you understand why do you have the results that you have in your life? Why do you keep creating the same results? And a little bit about what to do about it. So again, this is the tool that all of my coaching is founded and based on, and like the core architecture of the coaching that I use with people. And I want to teach it to you today. I've taught it in multiple different ways throughout this podcast, but we're at episode number 150, which is crazy to me. So I kind of wanted to do a recap and talk about it really directly, as well as talk about some new things I've been learning that I've been working with my clients on and share it with all of you here today. So this model that I use, the self-coaching model, this was created by Brooke Castillo, who is my mentor, whom I was trained through. So she created this model, but it's been so helpful and game changer for thousands and thousands of people. If you've ever had cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT type therapy, this model is going to seem very familiar to you. And there's a lot of things that overlap and are the same about it, which I love, but it's a slightly different take. And the way this model functions is it helps me understand the root cause of some of the things I'm struggling with and not just Band-Aid fixes of them. So cognitive behavioral therapy is amazing, and I'm a huge proponent of therapy. It's essentially teaching you that your thoughts create your feelings create your behaviors, and your behaviors reinforce those thoughts. Now, let me be very clear. I am not a therapist. Coaching is not therapy. There's a lot of similarities. We use similar tools, but we are not licensed and trained in similar ways. But what I love about this coaching model is it makes it so we're not just continuing to reinforce these thoughts with our behaviors and trying to find Band-Aid patches to put out fires here and there. What I love about this coaching model is it's really kind of given me that aha moment that I wasn't getting in therapy, truth be told, and helped me understand what were some of the root cause issues that I needed to go to work on and why was I not necessarily getting there. I get asked a lot, what's the difference, how do you know if you should go to therapy? How do you know if you should go to coaching? And I always tell people, truthfully, that's only something you can answer. I'm a huge proponent of all of it. A lot of my clients are in therapy as well as coaching, but kind of think of it like this. If you broke your arm, you're not going to go to the gym and do strength training to try to help it mend and heal. You need to go to a doctor. You may need surgery. You're probably going to need a cast. If your arm is broken, you need to go to a doctor. But if nothing's broken, but you're wanting to get more fit and more healthy and more strong and feel better, then you need to go to the gym and do some strength training. I kind of think of it in similar terms with therapy and coaching. There's a time and a place where coaching cannot help you be diagnosed with things, help with medication, help with some of those things that, again, if it's broken, you need a doctor's help. If you're wanting to be stronger and feel better and maintain and grow and continually build on those muscles to take care of yourself, that's where the gym comes in. That's where coaching comes in. It's kind of how I think of it. So let me explain this self-coaching model. It's very simple, but extremely powerful. The model is an acronym. It's the CTFAR model. The C stands for circumstances. These are things that exist outside of us. They are outside of our control. They are factual. They are void of emotion. They are simply things that have happened. So a circumstance could be words that came out of someone's mouth. It could be something someone did or something someone didn't do. Okay, these are facts. There's no emotion. We're not adding the opinion to it, but it's simply something that exists factually outside of you that happens in your life. Life has a million bajillion circumstances happening to you all the time. Based on those circumstances, based on those things happening outside of our control, we have thoughts about it. Okay, our CTFAR model. The C stands for circumstance, the T stands for thoughts. These are the meaning that we're giving to those things happening outside of us. They're sentences in our brain. Based on what we're thinking, that is what ultimately creates our feelings, which is what the F line in this model stands for. When you think, neuron synapses connect in your brain, release chemical cascade that mixes with your body, and those are what we call our feelings, our emotions, our sensations. They're literally chemicals in our body. Based on how we're feeling, the next acronym in the model is A for actions. If we're feeling excited and driven and motivated and hopeful, our actions are very different than if we're feeling tired and depressed and frustrated and resentful. Based on the actions that we take. And in this model, action is action and inaction. So based on what you're doing and or what you're not doing, that ultimately is creating your result, which is what the R line in this model stands for. The results you have in your life come because of what you are and aren't doing, which come because of how you're feeling, which come because of what you're thinking, based on all the things happening outside of your control. Now, the result line in this model is extremely important. This is where the root problem lies. This is why those things happening outside of our control and the thoughts and feelings and actions we do are a problem. Let me give you an example. Let's say your manager cancels your one-on-one every week for the past 4 weeks. Okay. A circumstance, remember, it needs to be factual and true. Isn't just my manager always cancels my one-on-ones. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of interpretation. What does always mean? Okay. But if the circumstance is your manager has canceled your one-on-one for the past 4 weeks and your thought about it is they don't even care what I'm doing. Okay. This is a logical thought. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I probably would think that thought too. Yeah. If your manager has gone a month without showing up to your one-on-ones, for sure you're going to be thinking something along this line. Totally normal. Okay. Manager not showing up outside of your control. The meaning you're giving to it is they don't care about what I'm doing. When you think that thought, it probably makes you feel a feeling such as annoyed. So if this was me and I was thinking they don't care about what I'm doing and I'm feeling annoyed, when I'm annoyed, I complain about that manager with my coworkers. I'm constantly thinking about it and like stewing and ruminating on it. I notice, who are they meeting with? And I make up stories in my head about, oh, they have favorites and they only care about that person. I roll my eyes a lot at them. I'm an eye roller. If I'm engaging with them and I'm feeling annoyed because I keep thinking the thought they don't even care about what I'm doing, I'm probably short and rude when they ask me a question or need something. When I'm feeling annoyed because I keep thinking the thought they don't care what I'm doing and I get an email from them, maybe I'll like be a brat and I'll purposely not reply and wait and make them wait till the next day. Or I'll act back and like pretend like I don't even care about them. When I'm annoyed, you know what actions I'm not taking? I'm not asking them, hey, what's going on? I really need to meet with you. Maybe I'm asking them what's going on, but I'm like mad and angry and not a very kind person when I'm asking them. I'm very accusatory in my tone. When I'm annoyed because I keep thinking they don't even care about what I'm doing, You know what else I'm not doing? I'm not finding another way to show the good work I'm doing or get answers to the questions to like help myself to fill those gaps that I need filled in my one-on-one. So when that's the actions I'm taking and not taking, when that's who I am and how I'm showing up, the behaviors I'm doing, the result that is creating for me is I'm not caring about the work I'm doing. I'm all up in the drama. I'm not taking pride in the work I'm doing and advocating for myself and getting answers and figuring it out. I'm just annoyed. Okay, so I want you to see we took that all the way through the results line. That cognitive behavioral therapy loop, if we were just to stop at the action line, in CBT terms, they would call it behavior. If we were just to stop there, it goes to prove, yeah, we're feeling annoyed because we believe our manager doesn't care. And what that causes us to do is to try to change the circumstance. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't work. If you can change the circumstance and it works out for you, great. But you can't control your manager. You cannot force them to physically walk into the office or dial into the call and show up and be present and be helpful and help answer questions and support you through your career. You can try, you can ask, you can try to influence them, you could try to persuade them, you could do all sorts of things. And I'm not saying we just give up, but when we don't realize the result, the problem isn't actually that your manager is not showing up for your one-on-one. That's a symptom of the problem. The problem is you're not caring about the work you're doing and driving your career forward. Your manager is one of the tools in your toolbox, an option to help you manage your career, but they're not the only one. So do you see how if you don't get to that result of I'm not caring about the work I'm doing, you're going to spend all of your emotional time and energy trying to change your manager, and it's a losing battle. Instead, we want to go to work to figure out, okay, how do I want to care about my work? What would that look like? What would I be thinking? What would I not be thinking? What would I be doing? What would I not be doing? How would I feel? That's where we want to go and explore things. If we don't get to that result line, we just keep putting Band-Aid fixes on and continuing to have the same problem. And then if you're changing your circumstance because that's the only way you know how to feel better, you just keep chasing things. If you find you're the type of person that keeps changing job to job to job because something happens and you don't like it, or you have to work with difficult people, or they have unrealistic expectations, guess what? The job is not the problem. The result you're creating for yourself based on how you're thinking and feeling and showing up is the problem. And it's okay. You're human. We've all been there. But trying to control things outside of us is a losing game. We want to influence and help make things as great as we can. But when you know how to manage yourself, now we're not scared of things outside of our control. We learn how do you be agile in those things outside of your control. Okay. So let's look at another example. This is one I've been hearing a lot from many of my friends that are still working at Amazon. For some of the groups, people had approval to be working virtually 100% of the time. And some of those groups are changing their policy to where they need the employee to come in a set number of days every week. So I've gotten lots of calls from people who, rightfully so, are feeling really frustrated about it. So let's put this into one of these self-coaching models, okay? So the circumstance is the company has changed their policy. If you can no longer work virtually, you need to come into the office 3 days a week. Okay. That's the thing happening outside of us, outside of our control. It's not good. It's not bad until we give it some meaning. Kind of the theme I'm hearing from a lot of these people is along the lines of this is stupid and not fair. And I don't necessarily disagree with them. A lot of these people had virtual approval before COVID was even a thing. And now because of COVID and changes and lots of people going virtual and us changing philosophies on things, they've lost that work flexibility. So yeah, I get it. I would probably be thinking the same thing. This isn't fair. This is stupid. Okay. When that's the meaning we're giving to this thing that's happening outside of our control, probably makes us feel some form of frustration. So again, when we're frustrated, how do we show up? We gossip about it. We call everyone. They call me, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, can you believe this? And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I would do the exact same thing. I would be thinking these same thoughts and feel frustrated. So we gossip, we ruminate on it. We look for loopholes. We complain about it. We join Slack rooms where everyone bands together and tries to sign petitions and things of like how this is dumb. And we try to change that thing outside of our control. We complain about it with our friends and our partners and our spouses and whomever will listen. The result that creates, when that's how we are spending our emotional, mental, and literal time, because we're frustrated, because we keep thinking how stupid and not fair this is, the result that's creating for you. The only thing you can control are your results. You can't control other people's or the company's results, okay? The result that's creating for you when that's how you're showing up is you're just being kind of stupid because you're not figuring something out for yourself, right? We're just like complaining and sitting in this frustration of being so annoyed and so set on how stupid this is and it's not fair. Yeah, I agree. It's not. But feeling frustrated about it isn't helping you get the result you want. Maybe you do need to change your circumstance. Maybe you need to find a new job or a new company that lets you stay virtual. Maybe you need to move. Maybe you need to try to negotiate something else. I don't know. But feeling frustrated is not the emotion that's going to help you figure it out in a way that gets you the result that you like and are proud of. So there's two common questions I get all the time as we're talking about this self-coaching model. The first question or kind of comment is, so I'm just supposed to think happy thoughts all the time? Is that what you're telling me? And I'm here to say no. I do not sell happiness. There are things we don't want to feel good about. I'm right there with people. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. If you had approval to be a virtual employee for years before the pandemic, and now that's being removed for you because some executive on high put in a blanket, no exceptions allowed policy, let's be frustrated. We don't want to feel good about that. I'm not saying to just think happy thoughts. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. You're allowed to feel however you want to feel. The worst thing that could happen to you in the world is a feeling. But what we want to do by putting this into a model is to gain awareness. That is the main goal and the thing so many of my clients want to like rush right through. They're like, yeah, I get it. I'm frustrated. Okay, how do you make me feel better? And I'm like, no. True awareness is so powerful for a couple of reasons. Let me tell you. One, you stop resisting what is. You stop being so angry and so resentful and so mad at this policy, and you learn to accept reality. I'm not saying we're okay with it, but we say, okay, the game has changed. These are the rules now. How do I want to play? Who do I want to be? What am I okay with? What am I not okay with? How do I need to figure this out? The quicker you get to accepting reality, the quicker you're going to be able to figure something out for yourself. Things have worked out every single day of your life thus far. I'm guessing you can figure this out. You've got to gain that awareness of the result you're creating for yourself and own that, because you can control that result for yourself. You can't control what the company does. But you can control if you're acting stupid and not figuring it out. The second thing, putting it into this model helps you realize is it gives you a starting point. If we want to get to the path where we feel fulfilled and supported and can believe the thought, like, my job is great, they totally have my back. If that's the destination we're trying to get to, you got to be really specific and clear on the you are here part of the map. Think about typing it into a GPS. You can't get the path there unless you know exactly where the you are here is. And putting it into this model Again, it helps you be honest with yourself, not judgmental, not have shame, but it just gives you an opportunity to look at it through a different lens. It gives you the chance to look at the thoughts and feelings and actions and results you're creating for your life. It gives you a chance just to step back a little bit and look at it from a slightly different perspective. Going back to this example of having to return to the office, you're like, yeah, I am kind of acting ridiculous. And it's okay. Maybe you're still mad and you want to be ridiculous. Go for it. I'm all in. But don't get mad and frustrated that things aren't changing. Own, I'm not ready to feel differently about this yet. I want to be frustrated and just sit in this for a little while. Totally okay. Okay. So again, kind of some common pushback I get from this or questions or comments is like, so you just want me to think happy thoughts all the time? No. The goal is to gain awareness. There really is no such thing as a happy or sad thought. But that's another podcast for another day. Okay. The second thing people have questions about is what's happening in moments when you're just triggered. There are things that happen in life where based on your DNA, what happened when you were growing in your mother's womb, past events, stress you haven't dealt with, circumstances going on in your life, there are things that are going to happen where your body is going to naturally respond and you cannot stop and control it. These are triggers. Your nervous system is triggering your body and saying, we do not feel safe. This is extremely dangerous. Okay, so let's look at this kind of trigger point in terms of this self-coaching model. So circumstance happen. Let's say the circumstance is people were laid off at your company. Hearing this may automatically trigger your nervous system if you have been laid off before and you haven't healed, or that may be such a traumatic, big, huge, hard thing you dealt with that your body is going to hold that muscle memory for life. That's okay. But if the thing outside of your control, the circumstance is people are getting laid off, you may get triggered and have a physical response with your nervous system. You're going to think thoughts based on how your nervous system is feeling because your nervous system and your brain are connected. In my coaching program, I go into this in so much detail and it would take me hours to explain this, but at a high level, your nervous system is a muscle. It has memory. Okay? So if your nervous system is heightened in that fight or flight state, you're going to naturally, very easily, logically think a lot of thoughts like, I can't do this again. What am I going to do? I am the only one that's supporting my family. This is doom and gloom. And you're going to feel scared, anxious, overwhelmed, whatever those feelings are. There's nothing wrong with you. You just have some past experience and your body has muscle memory. And so by default, your brain and your nervous system are working together and your brain's going to tell you this is terrible. Some form of that thought. Okay. So if people are getting laid off, you have some triggers around that. You keep thinking, I can't do this again. And you're feeling anxious. When you're anxious, you're probably worrying, you're not sleeping, you're making mistakes. Maybe you need extra validation at work. You're like double checking, like, is this good enough? Do you like this? You're working extra hours trying to go above and beyond. You're questioning everything. You're making everything mean something bad is going to happen or that you're not good enough. You're worried about your mistakes. You're trying to play politics so that people like you. When that's what you're doing, because you're so anxious and worried because you keep thinking, I can't do this again. The result that's creating for you is, I'm not doing great work. Maybe you're not going to get laid off. Maybe you're going to get managed out. Okay. It makes total sense. So here's your next logical question. Okay, great. What do you do about it? If you find that you're getting triggered, I'm going to give you one thing today. Again, I go into this in so much detail in my coaching program. This is what I help people do is if you find that you're really worked up and freaked out and anxious and having a hard time getting over something, I want you to do this one thing. Okay. Super simple. It's going to feel too easy. Like it's not going to work, but why does it have to be hard is my question to you. Okay. We want to work with our brain and our nervous system together. First, we're going to go to our brain and we're just going to acknowledge, of course, I'm freaking out about this. I had some really hard experiences with this in the past. Of course, I'm freaking out that people are getting laid off. It's like one of my biggest worries, one of my biggest fears. It makes sense. Okay, so we just want to tell our brain we're not shocked and surprised and caught off guard by this. It makes sense that we're feeling really anxious and nervous, okay? Then we're going to go to our nervous system and try to calm that nervous system to get us out of that fight, flight, or freeze mode and get us into what they call the rest and digest phase, because that's where we're able to think at our clearest. When emotions are high, intelligence is low. When your nervous system is in fight, flight, or freeze, your brain is all in protective mode and you're not thinking of ways to get out of this. You are just trying to save yourself, which usually means trying to control things outside of our control. Okay? We want to get our nervous system into rest and digest where we can figure this out for ourselves. So remember, first we're going to tell our brain, of course I'm freaking out. This makes sense. This is hard for me. Okay? Second, breathe. Sit down, purposely relax your body. Take a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. I know it sounds so simple and too good to be true, but this is how you help calm your nervous system. This is one of those exercises you need to be doing consistently, daily, possibly thousands of times a day, to purposely take some deep, relaxing breaths. You are practicing calming your nervous system through different types of breathing, okay? I always think of this is homework for life, you guys. Your brain and your nervous system are always going to be working, and we want them to. And they're always looking for what could be dangerous and bad. And that's great. We just want to keep being aware of it to make sure it's allowing us to be the kind of person we want to be and creating the results we want in our lives. Just like building a healthy body, you have to keep exercising. You have to keep strength training to have strong muscles. It's the same thing with our thoughts and our nervous system. You've got to practice exercising them for the rest of your life. And when you have tools and you are healthy and strong, maintaining it is so much easier. So here's what I would encourage you to do to practice doing that in small, consistent ways. Write down your thoughts and try plugging them into one of these models, okay? Now, I'm going to warn you, this model is very simple and logical, but trying to plug this in and really understand and get to that result, it's actually harder than it sounds. But I would love to help you with it. There's no cost, there's no gimmick, there's no catch. I want you to gain some awareness of the results you have in your life that are the root cause problems keeping you stuck. Because you're a great person and you deserve some help. Go to lindsaylymancoaching.com, click the link in the show notes. But let's jump on the phone. Let's work through some of these models. I can help you make sure you're using it properly to help you understand what is the root cause that's really keeping you stuck. All right. I want you to know you're amazing. I'm a huge fan of yours. You got this. We'll talk soon.